What can you learn from me to help you in your quest for unemployment? It's coming up next.
No information obtained from the following production is legal advice and does not create an attorney-client relationship with the law office IAJ, Law LLC, or any attorney or professional appearing on this program. You should consult an attorney for individualized advice regarding your own situation or specific legal concerns.
Broadcasting from Edina, Minnesota, your host, Attorney Jasper Bird. #Jasper.
Well, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you appreciated that update on my bumper music. I'm very excited for the opportunity to connect with you. Your situation is not hopeless, okay? You are likely unemployed or fighting through an unemployment appeal process, and these things are scary. I absolutely acknowledge that. But if you are already going down the road of how can I prepare to either show my eligibility or defend my eligibility, very likely you're already on the right path. Let's keep this simple right out of the gates. There are basically two categories of workers. The first category is going to be the worker who quit their job. Not every person knows that they've quit their job. Some employers will try to suggest that a person quit their job. But the first category of claims is going to be the worker who is labeled as a person who quit their job. By default, the second category of worker or applicant is going to be the person who was fired. It's not a very fun word, saying that you're fired or talking about being fired. Very few people, really want to discuss that, and I don't blame them. The term that the unemployment office uses and the term that Minnesota law uses is the term discharge. They say a worker was discharged, basically very similar to being fired. Just kind of a more, we'll just say, non-emotional term. So two categories of workers. Category over here is a worker who quit their job. Category over here is going to be those who were fired. There is very little gray in between. In fact, there is no gray. Sometimes people confuse the gray with an eligibility issue outside the scope of their employment. For example, being available to work or seeking something called suitable employment. These are kind of terms of art that the unemployment office uses to really determine if a person should or should not get unemployment, but they're going to be outside the scope of these two categories of workers. So if there's any takeaway here, it's going to be, what category am I? Am I the person who quit their job and am going to try to seek out a specific game plan, or am I the worker who was fired? But here is what I think is good news for either category. Both people, both types of workers, have an opportunity to share their story. And how do you share your story? Well, there's really three ways. The first way is just to verbalize it. Tell your story. What happened, how did it happen, etc. The second way to do it is to use documents. What might that be? Well, maybe an email, maybe a poster that you recall seeing at your place of work, maybe a handbook. Sometimes people have these things called corrective action plans or performance improvement plans, or just a note that says, hey, I went to the doctor, or my supervisor gave me a warning, or on this day, the machine wasn't working, whatever that piece of paper might be. And most folks can remember or recall those types of things, specifically email. But there's other types of documents as well. That might be a message, a voicemail on a phone, or a text message. These tend to be very valuable tools that an applicant or a worker can use to share their story. Another way to tell your story is going to be the use of witnesses. And there are good witnesses and there are bad witnesses. Really, probably a little out of scope here. I'm trying to determine who's a good witness, who's a bad witness. But generally speaking, the worker who comes to my office can say, I don't really remember a person who was there or can account for what happened. Other times, the only witness might be your boss or your supervisor or manager or an HR person. So automatically some folks say, geez, Jasper, yeah, there's a witness, but I don't think they're going to be that helpful, which of course might be accurate. But just knowing that, number one, we as unemployed workers have an opportunity to present witnesses. And usually that opportunity is going to be limited to some sort of phone hearing with a judge. So 3 ways. Number one, tell your story verbally. The second way is going to be through documentation. And the third way of telling your story is going to be through witnesses. Now, that can be overwhelming. How to categorize that? How and at what point does one trump the other? And that is where I try to advise a person, what is it that they're going to say and how are they going to say it, which is very, very important. Talking about, last Tuesday and talking about the going to lunch and coming back to work and having a conversation with a coworker, that might not be that important, but talking about the details of what was said, say 3 months ago, it's some sort of meeting, or recalling what you anticipated a policy to be because you had always done it that way. These are types of facts, is what usually a hearing officer or a judge might refer to that as. You want to somehow get those facts to the top. And the sooner the better. If there's a fact that is significant to a claim, no need to delay that. You want to do everything in your power to highlight that on your own behalf. So a lot of folks come to me to say, hey, Jasper, how do we organize this? Which I'm in favor of. I do believe that workers or applicants who are appealing or defending their unemployment are in a good position, assuming that they prepare. Those who are in a poor position can sometimes dig themselves out of it. And of course, I encourage that. And this is a benefit that I believe every worker should be owed, and it's worth fighting for. Otherwise, I wouldn't do this type of work. So I hope that's at least an initial breakdown of what I think is kind of a bird's eye view of what an applicant or a worker might want to view as their process, their beginning process to this unemployment quest. And I hope you find value. So I wish you the best.
Jasper thanks you for listening. Please subscribe or share this production.